to understand what are the key takeaways of the Value Quest annual event, what his view on the market is, and is he really bothered about Credit Suisse or UBS or none? Ravi, what a lovely event. It was really a wonderful, in a sense, wonderful forum to really showcase that where India is headed.
Yeah, no, I think I strongly do believe that India is at an inflection point. We were calling our conference a VQ Inflection Day, but that is about inflection is in India. Inflection was for us also personally. Of course, we have grown a lot in the last 2-3 years. So from India's point of view, see, India is going from being a $3 trillion economy to 5 and 10 eventually over the next 6, 7, 8 years. And when that is going to happen, it is going to kick in a big consumption J curve. The discretionary spends are going to go through the roof. Surely we are facing some shorter term headwinds. So I'm not going to talk about 1-2 quarter view over here. We are talking about, see, India has managed COVID well. And this management is not only limited to the health crisis. I'm talking about the fiscal crisis or humanitarian crisis. All was managed well. Because of our better fiscal management during the COVID period, is that we are not in the kind of trouble that the global, most of the developed economies are. They've overstimulated the economy and they are having inflation that they haven't seen in few generations. While we have always dealt with slightly higher inflation, and for us it is pretty much par for the course. So if you, it is reflecting in the market performance as well. For us it has been a mild correction or consolidation over the last 15-16 months. It's not been like a crash. If you talk about the crypto or the tech or the bond market worldwide, there has been a lot of wealth erosion. India has managed to retain its wealth. The moment this crisis abates, I don't know when that will happen, India should actually start growing again. A lot of the FII selling today, I believe, is a result of pain elsewhere. It is not, the financial sector in India is one of the cleanest. They are witnessing a very high growth, and that growth is only going to pick up from here. So I strongly believe from all point of view, from politics, geopolitics, the management of economy, everything, India is positioned to take off from here.
Ravi, given what's happening in the world, first US banks and now European banks, is it's a general reminder for everyone that 2008 also started like this. What looked like a spark, we started using the word decoupling, but then we realized in the world that there is nothing called decoupling, it's a flat world. What is your understanding of the crisis in the world, and could this snowball into something very big?
No, so definitely one has to be cautious and skeptical or about what's happening in the world. Though I really believe that the risks in the world comes from unknown. And not to say that we know what is happening, but there is a playbook already available, and a decade is not too long back. You know, it's still fresh in people's mind how that crisis played out, one after the other, domino falling. That was a crisis of balance sheet to a very, very large extent, and for something that was done for decades together. I mean, wrong business practices carried on for decades, and suddenly then people realized, well, over here it is still limited to some regional banks, some odd, one or so European banks, and the response from the central bank is far, far quicker than it was during global financial crisis. So we will have new crises that will engulf us at some point of time, but at this point it is pretty clear, or I would say you can think 2 steps ahead, and even central banks can think 2 steps ahead. And you can see last weekend, SVB's depositors were
rescued,
underwritten, and this week UBS Credit Suisse deal has happened. The swiftness with which the central banks are acting tells you that they will prevent, hopefully be able to prevent a much larger global crisis this time.
So it's time to look through the crisis.
I won't say it's time to look through the crisis, but India on the other hand is still an oasis in the world. Again, I won't use the word decouple because global flows are pretty much coupled. Economies can behave slightly differently, but in the short run we are all driven by the flows, and the flows are global in nature. So as I mentioned that even though Indian banks are doing well, but that is the only place from where FIs can actually take quick liquidity out if they are facing trouble elsewhere. So that is leading to some really good opportunity getting created in the Indian financial space. So I am not worried about the crisis. It might lead to some amount of underperformance or the stock prices going further below from here. But I would say that is an opportunity for somebody who has a more than 2-3 years horizon.
Okay. The themes which were showcased at the Value Quest Inflection Day, number one was financials. That is one of your largest holdings. What gives you the confidence that financials have a long way to go? And my add-on to that question is that A, financials as a category have done well. B, they're struggling for new deposits. And C, typically if interest rate trajectory is evident, it appears that best of the NIMs are behind them. Isn't best of the banks behind us?
No, in fact, the rising interest rate is actually positive for the NIMs for the banks. It's a negative for the NBFCs. But coming back to your question about the financials being the large theme, see, if you just reverse back a little, 2017, 18, 19, that was the real tough period when we were still trying to clean up our balance sheet, where the IL&FS crisis had happened, and there was real crunch in the credit economy. People who wanted money were not getting. Today, the money is still available. Okay, it is getting a little expensive. It was probably available at 7%. Now it is available at 8.5%. I am saying liquidity is not an issue so much right now in India. The balance sheet of the banks are pretty clean. The credit growth has just come back. The confidence in the corporates to start investing for the future has begun, and it is picking up. Government is leading from the front on that front. So I don't see Indian banks underperforming at all. Over the next 3, 4, 5 year period, I feel, and the kind of new technology that is coming in and the way financialization is happening in India, India is going to be one of the largest themes in the world, and we don't know yet all the implications of it and how big this can become. We are underpenetrated across category. The number of bank accounts and all have just opened. The second, third order effect of this will be visible over the next half to 1 decade. So I would say absolutely stay invested in the financials for the next few years.
There were 4 companies, and I had the pleasure of even seeing their conference, at the conference, what they were showcasing about their sector and their business model. AU Financials, Praj, Wari, Datamatics, Keynes.
Data patterns.
Data patterns and Keynes. So I'm assuming that these are your portfolio companies?
Yes, we do have a presence in our portfolio, but a disclaimer over there. I mean, whatever we talk about, it will be more for illustrative purposes. We are not going to talk about the stock price or any such thing.
Yeah, but that's in public domain that they came for the conference.
Yeah, I mean, see, we essentially presented the mega trends, and the 4 mega trends are financialization, manufacturing, the consumption J curve, and energy transition. And within each of these sectors, what we did is we called the authorities on those topics over there who can enlighten us more on these topics. So the idea was more to make people see 5-10 years ahead, and these are the people, those who are riding the trends. Okay, there's a mega trend that is happening and somebody is at the forefront of it. I think they have a better vision than us in terms of what lies ahead. So that was the kind of the motive behind getting those people to talk to us.
So there was Praj and there was Wari. One is in solar, other is in ethanol machinery or biofuel. So which means that as a theme, apart from financials, you think it's going to be energy transition?
Absolutely. I think energy transition is a huge theme. See, and it is not anymore driven only by regulation. It is driven by economics. Solar today is the cheapest source of power available anywhere ever. Okay, we have not had this cheap power ever for humanity. And now the beauty of it is available most of the places in the world. It is not restricted to few geographies like it is in the case of coal or crude for that matter. So this is a democratization of energy, and it will have far-reaching geopolitical impact which we cannot imagine today. So many wars have been fought because of limited resources, and now suddenly energy is not going to be that factor. Energy is going to be available. I'm talking about 10 years, 20 years from now. So it is a huge trend that has started, and there is a global push. See, there is a on the S-curve, there is a early adoption, and it's good to have kind of a thing, but once it reaches a particular inflection point, then it becomes a mass movement. And I believe solar is way past the tipping point everywhere in the world. US has just begun because of the Inflation Reduction Act, the kind of incentives they have given to the green economy. It is going to provide further push. And solar is actually the backbone of all, because to convert any energy into clean, you need solar at the back end. Yes, solar might not be the best in terms of efficiency. For every I mean, there is only 25% retention in the overall scheme of things, but it's undeniable that the solar penetration is here to stay. The problem in India is that there are very few ways available to play this theme, and hence, I mean, whatever limited plays are available, we are trying to get them. Vari, in fact, is still an unlisted company, and so we brought companies from the listed as well as the unlisted space. Praj is on the biofuel. A lot of people consider Praj or the food versus fuel debate and it not being a very desirable thing. But as what we believe is that humanity is facing a real big crisis, and this is all hands on the deck approach. It is not about this technology is better and this is slightly worse off in the medium term. You have to deploy anything and everything that is available to ensure that the dramatic rise of the temperature in the world does not go beyond the tipping point. So we have to put everything that is available, and also it is not a one size fit all. Some country might have a huge agri waste, and that is a good thing. You know, people, you can generate energy from it. Yeah. So finally it is about capturing the solar energy. The plants have been doing that since forever. We are only converting that energy back into a usable form, either it is in terms of fuel or it is in terms of electricity. So I sincerely believe that energy transition is a mega.
I mean, India has lack of hydrocarbon and abundant sunlight. So you will always see a business in what is available. For example, our demographics is something which is available as a proof of concept. So I think that really sets in very well. You've also had a theme specially focused on manufacturing. Now, India's manufacturing prowess is not very strong. There is an acknowledgement from last couple of years after the PLI schemes that India has arrived in terms of contributing to the manufacturing sector. But it's not easy. It's tough. What gives you the confidence that this time it's different?
So you know what? It requires many a false start for us to finally start showcasing or for the trend to pick up. So manufacturing, we have been pathetic, if I can use that word. For the last 75 years, we have not done enough to build the manufacturing capacities, and there are many things that that are lagging, whether it is skilled people, engineers being available, women's participation, R&D dollar being spent, the scale that is required, the road infra, logistics, everything has been a problem. Okay, so judiciary, if I may add, the kind of backlog that we have of the cases, the kind of implementation of the commercial contracts, and the back and forth on the taxation, there are many things that keep people off. But, and see, 2014 Make in India started, it was great on intent, but what we realize is that everything goes through a learning curve. You cannot expect it to be a hit from day one. Over a period, government realized that there are too many sectors over here. It is still a motherhood statement. The bureaucrats are not necessarily following the, towing the line. So they changed and they improvised and adapted to make the scheme more effective. They reduced the number of sectors. They incentivized and they used the carrot and stick approach. I mean, I would say Sam, Dam, Dan, Bhed, everything was used. You incentivize with taxes, you give protection with tariffs, you provide a level playing field, and you incentivize scale. PLI, I think, is a game changing.
Combination of
and in fact, they went a step ahead in terms of in defense, where they actually banned imports. So any and everything is being tried. A kitchen sink is being thrown. You are trying to get the logistics in place. We are trying to get the road network, the railway network, the airport network, everything being put in place. And we can see with our eyes, anecdote. We don't need anybody's confirmation that it is improving. Are we there yet? Absolutely not. We might still take another 5 years. But the intent is very clear and the action is also there supporting it. So the confluence of all the steps that have been taken over the last 7-8 years are finally coming to fruition. And we are beginning to see some output or some results, you know, like in the case of electronics manufacturing. We have now gone from being huge importer, Apple, mobile manufacturer, yes. We are gone from being importers to exporter. It might be a small number in terms of $1 billion export, but it's a huge thing that we are going to be exporting and not importing. And see, what happens is everybody always starts at the bottom end of the value chain. Okay, you're first going to import everything and get the assembly line in place. As we move along the curve, now again the Foxconn is coming in with a chip plant probably, and the entire ecosystem surrounding the Apple AirPods and iPad is also coming to India. Then we will move along the chain as the component assembly, and eventually the design and the complete product is also finally built in India. I think that day will also come. Maybe it is 5-7 years away. But this is how the trends begin. And all we are saying is that we are at that inflection point, and this trend is going to last long. Manufacturing contributes like 10%, which is lower than some of the even emerging markets. Yeah. So this contribution has to go higher. 25% over a 10-15 year, I would say, is a real possibility, and now we have taken some concrete steps towards achieving it.
And if the size of the economy is $5-6 trillion, 25% of that actually could be a $1 trillion opportunity.
Absolutely.
So if you're looking at from your vantage point, you are clearly endorsing that the next $1 trillion theme for India could be the manufacturing sector.
And I'll add to that. This is the macro part on it being a $1 trillion opportunity. But there are very few companies of size in manufacturing. You know, you can count on fingers the number of companies that do more than 1,000 crore profit in manufacturing. Yeah. So there will be many companies that will go from being a somewhere between 50 and 200 crore kind of profit company to a 1,000-2,000 crore profit company. And that is where the happy hunting ground for people like me is, that we can actually find companies that scale up in a big way. So we are talking about Wari. Wari did 70 crore profit last year, is going to do 400 crore profit this year, and they are slated to achieve 2,000 crore over the next 3-4 year period. So that will put them in elite league of, you know, top 200 companies in India. So that is what we are looking for in our scale framework.
Companies actually have a PAT of 2,000 crores.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's just that we don't look at these numbers.
Yes.
Minus IT, consumption and banks, very few companies actually even have a record of a profit of 2,000 crores sustainable.
Yes, sustainable. Yes, that's the key word over here as well. And see, the companies evolve. It is not like they will remain a solar module manufacturer. They'll get into backward integration. They will get into adjacencies. So one-time cash flows also lead to more optionalities being opened up. They can put that money to good use to build that moat around themselves, or to cross that chasm and go to the next level of growth.
Can I say, just like TMT changed the face of India in 2000, telecom, media and technology, or technology, media, telecom, whichever way we want to look at it, then we saw the huge comeback, let's say, in the entire NBFC space. Then there's a large theme which was chemicals. Manufacturing, it'd be a large theme according to you for next couple of years. So my question is that, why did you not showcase the obvious names? Why did you showcase Keynes? We're not getting into stock specific technology, but is there a specific theme within you like within manufacturing?
No, so we believe see, these are all chemicals is actually a part of the manufacturing theme only. However, we believe that chemical has run its first set of course. I mean, the valuations have gone through the roof, and we wanted to showcase companies that are still at the beginning of the trend. We wanted to show how things look when the things are actually starting and how they end up being. Most of the chemical companies 7 years back, you know, they were quoting at single-digit multiple. Today, all of them are quoting at 30-40 multiple. Even commodity chemical companies are getting 15-20 multiples. So it's a trend that is well recognized. And for me, the arbitrage is to recognizing these trends way before anybody else does and betting on it and riding the trend. So that was the idea behind getting some of these unknown names to
you saved the best for the last. Wow, Momo.
No, so again, consumer, as I mentioned, the J consumption curve that we are going to witness is crazy. See, all our quick service restaurant chains in India are all MNCs. There are very few which are homegrown. The MNCs QSR chain have a big royalty to pay to their parents. These guys don't have to. And if there is an Indian entrepreneur who has cracked that, in fact, and he has a global ambition, he does not restrict his ambition to India. In fact, he wants to take the momos and Indian Chinese to the world. So I believe there is a chance that he might do it.
What about the moat? I mean, I went to Missouri 3 months ago, and every second corner had one momo wala.
No, absolutely. But the kind of scale that he will achieve, the kind of, see, health is a conscious choice for most of the Indians now. You obviously want to eat, and I'm not suggesting for a moment that this is healthy, but it is hygienic, what I'm talking about. And people will choose the hygienic option if it is available to them. And